You're going to find it there at Westside Decorating Center. Later on this hour, we'll have open phones, but we're going to start out talking to State Representative Bill G. Schuette. Representative Schuette, good morning.
Good morning, Art. Always love being on the show.
I love having you too, Bill. How are we doing with state budget? Let's start there.
Yeah, no, good question and an important discussion. And I think what we're seeing in the latest revenue estimates coming in Lansing is that money is going to be a little bit tighter in our state budget this year. But I think a lot of Americans, a lot of Michiganders are facing the same types of issues in their home budgets. So that's, again, why it's so important, Art, like we talk about every time on our show, to be fiscally responsible with your tax dollars in Lansing.
I got to ask this, Bill. You say money is going to be tighter, yet the budget has swelled to $84 billion from when it was down, in the 40s, 50s, something like that?
Yeah.
Where'd this extra revenue come from, and why is it tight if we have all this money?
Well, no, you're exactly right, Art, and that's the whole point, right? Money wouldn't be tight if we had decided to budget the $9 billion surplus we had in our state's budget when I started out in the state legislature, right? But because government has, in the last 2 years under complete Democratic control, had just an insatiable appetite for spending, we saw a lot of that money spent on programs and projects that increased the size of the budget to, over $80 billion. And with that type of growth, unfortunately, the only thing we've seen is, more costs on Michiganders. And that's why we need to make sure that this budget cycle, we get things back to basics.
Is it fair to say it's easy to give, it's hard to take back?
That is absolutely true, Art. And that's why I think, it's so important when we had that $9 billion surplus. What I was coming on the Art Lewis show back then saying was, hey, let's spend this money on projects that are one-time expenses. Let's make sure we're putting money away in our rainy day fund. So that way, we can make sure our state is in a sustainable path going forward. Instead, it was spent on programs and expenses that only go up and up. And now we really need to make sure that we're getting back to the fundamentals of what government needs to do.
All right, so let's talk about some of those fundamentals. One of them that's been much discussed, local streets and roads, not state highways, not the federal highways, but the local streets and roads. Where are we with helping counties and cities and townships out with that?
Yeah, no, that's so important because, I drive when I'm not in Lansing today, but, go back down there tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday. And when I'm driving down, 127, there's plenty of road work being done. But a lot of our local roads, whether it's here in Midland County, over by you in Saginaw or in Bay, those local roads still aren't fixed because they haven't had the same type of prioritized funding. And that's why House Republicans and I always said, hey, let's make sure we're devoting the money that we need to our local roads. And House Republicans, we passed a $3 billion roads plan that would make sure that we actually invest the money we need to fix our roads without raising taxes on you. And how do you do that, Art? It's the exact same way that we just started this interview talking about getting back to basics, making sure that we're saying first things first. Government's going to pay for our infrastructure. It's going to pay for public education, and it's going to pay for public safety.
Let me move to another topic which has been much discussed. We here in the Great Lakes Bay region do not have a state senator.
Yeah.
And doesn't appear we're going to get one anytime soon. Have you seen any movement from the governor's office on setting a date for a special election?
No, Art, and that's a huge disservice to this region, and it's pretty rich when you hear the governor and the Democrats talk about threats to democracy. Well, right here in the Great Lakes Bay region, we don't have a voice. We don't have a state senator to vote for us on important issues. We're talking about the budget right now. It'd be really nice if the Great Lakes Bay region had both a state senator and a state representative working for them on these important issues like road funding and public safety and public education. Instead, there's an empty chair. And, Art, that's why I introduced a bill earlier this term to give everybody a tax credit in the Great Lakes Bay region, because they only get 50% of their representation.
That's right.
They're paying 100% of their state income taxes.
Taxation without representation is what this country was founded
exactly. on. It really is.
I love it.
It really is.
I have supported that, by the way. I've said it a number of times. I just, this is a pure case of playing politics, and I'm not sure if the politics on the governor's side are that she's afraid she's going to lose the seat, or if she's trying to use it as a bargaining chip for the budget. I'm not sure which it is, but it's got to be one of the two.
Yeah, and it could be, it could be both, right? The governor is clearly not being afraid to negotiate this and try to hold it over people's heads. And she also clearly is afraid, knowing that the Senate is, a one-seat Democrat majority. She doesn't. They're not willing to put their ideas to the test in an election because they're afraid they're going to lose another chamber after losing the state house in the last election.
All right, let's move on to a couple of other things in the budget. Education. We've been pumping money into education for a long time, and they continue to get increases. And that's fine. I understand in this day and this age, it costs more to do things. But it doesn't seem to have a correlation to results. We put money in, but we don't get the results out. Where's the disconnect here?
Yeah, Art, and I think that's why it's important that in our education, we're getting, again, back to the basics, make sure that we're teaching our kids how to read, how to write, how to do arithmetic. Those are the core functions of our schools, and that's what we need to make sure kids are coming out of our public education system, being able to, have the basic tools they need to succeed. And we've seen too many distractions in our public education system over the last few years. And House Republicans, we've passed a comprehensive education package that really does redirect our schools back to the basics, getting things like phonics in reading, Art. That's how I learned to read. But phonics are largely out of our school system right now.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about that, Bill, because I went to school long before you did, and we didn't learn phonics. But we did learn to spell. And one of the raps on phonics is people that learn to read by phonics don't learn to spell. Are you a good speller?
I think I'm a pretty good speller.
Okay.
You'd have to ask my teachers over at Midland Public Schools about my records there. Maybe we need to, go back and check the old report cards. But no, I think, our third grade reading scores in the state are abysmal. And it's pretty embarrassing. And, Art, I'm a competitive guy, right? Yeah, I want to make sure that Michigan is a state that's always winning and succeeding. And it's pretty embarrassing when you see a state, remember Mississippi when I was growing up was kind of the butt of jokes about a public education system. Well, they've absolutely transformed their public education system, and credit to the public servants there who have helped do so. And it's really been by making sure that they get these science-tested methods back into their schools and make sure that's what their schools are focusing on, not, courses in underwater basket weaving or DEI.
Yeah. I just, I shake my head because we have some of the highest paid teachers in the country, and I don't fault teachers. I mean, I respect teachers. It's a very difficult job. But, when you spend more than almost anybody in the country and your results are near the bottom of the pile, you have to ask why at some point in time, don't you?
We need to have performance-based pay. I think we need to make sure that, those teachers who are, absolutely, and we have so many good teachers in our state, and I'm blessed that I, had many great teachers who helped shape and mold me at Midland Public Schools, and they deserve to be paid top shelf, top rate, right?
Yeah, right.
And let's make sure that we're rewarding and incentivizing that good pay. But I tell you what, you look at our state superintendent during his tenure, the state has only gone down in every single objective metric. And not only does he have a job, he's gotten a pay raise. That is the wrong way to do our education system in the state.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the federal side where they're working to reduce the size of the Department of Education, if that'll trickle down into the state or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think what the administration, did there was they're saying, hey, the Department of Education is detached from, the local type of conversations that are happening, whether it's in Hemlock or Bangor Township or Midland, and so many of their core functions would be better done, like issuing our student loans, for example. Treasury, there's no department of government that knows finance and the institutional loans process better than the Department of Treasury. And so basically the Department of Education, a lot of its core functions could be done either better at the state level, the local level, or with other parts of the federal government. And I think that's what we're trying to do is, again, let's make sure there's, the fewest layers of administrative bureaucracy that just eats up expenses and takes away from the core function of teaching our kids.
Well, I know you're on a time constraint, so let me ask one more question, and it's the general question of what's ahead this week for you in the legislature. What's important on your plate?
Yeah, absolutely. So got an important host of legislative items that we're working on in Lansing. But something I'm particularly passionate about and I'm working on is I chair the House Rules Committee, Art, and you're going to be seeing soon a comprehensive rollout and rule review and report of where are the licenses, regulations, permitting hangups that we have in our state that makes it too hard for Michiganders to get to work and makes it too hard to start a family. I'll give you a quick tease here, Art, because you've been a good friend. I don't understand why in the state of Michigan you need a license to be a butter grader. It sounds like a pretty interesting job, but I'm not sure you need a license to say if it's grade A or grade B butter. And we're one of the only states that has that license. So there's a lot of red tape to get out of our state's government.
I would do it differently. I mean, if the state needs somebody to tell you whether it's grade A or grade B, I'd leave it to some butter association to issue certifications for those people.
Yeah, but why does the state of Michigan need to do that?
That's right. Exactly.
Those are the exact types of things. Absolutely.
Right. Well, listen, thanks for being with us this morning, and have yourself a great day. We'll talk to you in the near future.
Yep, always enjoy it, Art. Thanks.
You. Bye-bye now. State Representative Bill G. Schuette, we thank you for spending time with us this morning. We'll have open phones now for the remainder of the hour, 989-752-6111.
Hungry for some
All right, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. To our phones, Gene is in Bay City. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning to our favorite host.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. The lady was talking about how much money Trump made, how much taxes he paid, and all that. In the same vein of thought, when he was over in Saudi Arabia, his two sons that are now running the Trump business, they were over there getting business for his private company. And I wonder, on the Hunter Biden thing, there was so much came up about what he was doing under his father's name and all that. Well, this is the same situation. Nobody knows how many deals that his sons are getting because of who their father is.
Yeah, the only difference, Gene, is they're doing it in public. Biden didn't. But having said that, the optics are bad. I will agree with you.
Thank you. Well, when he was first president, his son-in-law was over there, and it was so disgusting, the fact the Saudi prince, it was common knowledge he caused the tortured death of that American reporter. And Trump's son-in-law was over there praising him and making big money in deals, which to me that was disgusting. But at any rate, if the day ever comes that Trump decides to retire, he's going to retake over the Trump business, and everything, all the money that his sons are making in all these Arab countries and who knows what, all of that money is going to be Trump's.
Yeah, but that's true of every president who's relinquished his wealth into a trust and then regains it when he leaves office. Trump just happens to be a different kind of businessman, but the fact is they all do it. That's, how many presidents leave the office and become multi-millionaires? So, all of them.
Aren't we all envious of that?
Yeah, well, here you go. I mean, I don't think when I retire I'm going to have that same opportunity. So, I just, not that I'm ever going to retire, but I don't know.
I know, and I have my doubts if Trump will ever retire. I think that, the kind of guy he is, I can't see him giving up power.
No, he will. He has to.
I don't know.
Oh, no, I know. He has to constitutionally, and he's said so now. The last interview he did, he said, no, he's not running again.
Well, I'll make you a bet on that. We'll see what happens.
I'll take that bet.
I just can't see him giving up power.
Well, now you got to remember this. Now you got to remember this. Power comes in different forms. He may give up the power of the presidency. That doesn't make him a less powerful man in the business world. So he still has power.
Right.
And I would not be surprised if we, if after his presidency over, if we don't see him on television again. This is the nature of the beast. So be it. I mean, I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about what he's doing as president.
Right. On another subject, if I got a couple minutes, at the beginning of America, we became so rich and powerful because we had free labor, cheap labor. Unfortunately, it was horrible because that was slavery, and of course, it was horrible. But
okay, well, let's just a correction here then. We had some cheap labor, which was called slavery, not to be confused with everybody else working. Slavery was bad. Slavery was unconscionable. No two ways about it.
Anyway, we also had what they called indentured servants, which couldn't afford the passage to get to America, so they'd sign contracts to come here and work for a certain person, for low wages or whatever. And anyhow, after a year or two or whatever it was in the contract, then they were free to make as much money, and they were free Americans. Why can't we do something like that with the immigrants?
We can.
Why can't
we do? We do all the time. All you have to do is come across the legal entry points of this country. Remember, those people you talk about, those indentured servitude people, did it legally. They didn't cross the border at the Waco River or whatever it is. They came across legally and followed the law.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying we're in this mess right now where it's costing so much money to deport these people. The ones that they go in and arrest them that are working someplace, why can't they sign them up in some kind of an agreement where if they worked for, say, if an American was making $20 an hour, they'd agree to work for half, for $10 an hour, and then after a year or two or whatever, sign
I'll tell you
some
why.
kind of agreement.
I'll tell you why, and then I
gotta.
I'll tell you why, and then I gotta go for time here. The reason is the law's the law. That's like saying to somebody who robbed a store, well, I'll tell you what, let's get you a job and do this, and we won't count that. If you break the law, you break the law.
They would be vented during that time
If
they were working.
they broke the law. There's no accountability for breaking the law. That's the problem. Because all you do is encourage others to break the law if you don't hold accountability to the law.
Well, they've got soldiers now on the border.
Yeah, I know they do. All right, I got to run, Gene, because I'm back at time here. We'll do it again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Be the hero of your office.
Now, with more on the Art Lewis Show, we go to Harrison and say hi to Mark this morning. Morning, Mark.
Good morning, Art. How are you, sir?
Good.
Hey, if Art had $1 million, what would you do with it?
After taxes or before taxes? Probably save most of it.
Yeah.
I might have a notion to buy a vehicle, but other than that,
nice.
probably save it, and if I ever retire, have something to fall back on.
Right. Well, $1 million would buy a lot of community college as far as 2-year programs, wouldn't it?
Probably, especially since most of it's free now with the state.
Yeah. Our governor, I don't know if you noticed, Whitmer, has a FAFSA program, sweepstakes going on. If you just sign up for FAFSA, you can win a cool $1 million. You don't even have to go to college. You just have to sign up for it. Is that not a waste of taxpayer dollars?
Yeah, I have no idea what it is. I'd have to look it up. I did hear that there was a contest like that, but I don't know much about it. I'll have to look. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like money has value to them.
All right. Hey, so the other day there was a boat that lost its power, and it rammed into
Brooklyn Bridge.
Brooklyn Bridge.
Yep.
And then I saw Chuck Schumer run to the microphone and said that this was caused by Doge, the team at Doge, and having cuts and stuff like that.
It was caused by apparently the boat losing power. And I don't know what Doge has to do with that.
Well, my question is, do you think they're having him go out there saying these outlandish things?
No, they don't have to have him go out there. They don't have to have him go out there. He does it on his own. He's become a joke in some ways, in a lot of ways.
Well, somebody's writing his stuff for him because he's reading everything. It's not like he's coming off.
Well, he's got a staff. They all have staffs. I mean, that's nothing unusual there. That happens to everybody. They all have staffs that jot things down and write them and shove them in front of them. They all know what he wants to say, and they know how to write it. That's a given.
Well,
that's a given.
Yeah. All righty, my friend. You take care.
All right, you too. Thanks, Mark. Bye-bye. And here is Scott in Bay City. Scott, good morning.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I've talked to you way back. Anyway, I'm totally blind. And my brother-in-law mentioned last week on the show, you were talking about some guy inventing some type of a GPS type thing for blind people.
It's there's sensors that you put on your body, and they warn you of obstacles. You put them on your wrists, your feet, and you can put up to 9 of them on your body, I guess. And they give you a haptic response telling you that something is close by, and the degree of the vibrations tells you how close it is.
Now, I wonder how you would get a hold of that guy. If that'd be fun to try out a trial of.
Well, it's let me see. I gotta look up it was Sight Haptics, I think it is. Let me just a second, and let me take a peek here and see if I can find it for you real quick. It was an interesting device he's invented. And he's a young kid, too. I mean, he's not that old. He's like 21 or something. He just got his degree in mechanical engineering from Central Michigan. And
really? That's where I went to college.
Oh, well, there you go. Let me see here. Synaptics. Nope, that's not it. Oh. I don't see it right away. I'm going to have to look. I think I have his information someplace.
Well, could you send me an email? Give you my email address?
Yeah, hang on a second. I would if I had something to write with. Okay, what's your email?
Okay, it's Scott Brehm, SCOTT.
Yep.
BREHM 83 at gmail.com.
Scott, I'll look for it, and if I find it, I'll send it to you.
Now, do these things talk, I wonder, or beep or what?
No, it's all vibrations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're vibrations.
Yeah, if you could send me an email.
I will.
Okay,
all right,
thank
my
you.
friend. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye now. Quick break. We'll get back. We'll get to Jim and we'll get to Errol when we return.
This segment of Our Community's Care is
here at WSGW, and we're going to go to Midland and talk to Jim this morning. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, Art. Hey, in reference to Trump and Biden's business or whatever dealings overseas, the difference I see is Trump is building hotels and casinos and golf courses and doing real business, whereas the Bidens were just selling influence. That's the difference I see. I don't know how you see it.
Some truth there. Yeah, some
I think
truth.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing. Yeah. True.
Yeah, and I just think it's a huge difference. One's legit and one's not, if you ask me. So.
Yep. All right. Fair enough.
I don't know. Okay.
Good
all
thoughts.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Take care.
Yep.
And here's Errol in Saginaw. Good morning, Errol.
This is the person that has the happiest person you've ever met with a short fuse. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I think the program if I had, you remember a TV show called The Millionaire?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would make me the happiest person on the planet. I would have my researchers do their thing. I'd like to be there and hand them cash for about $500,000.
You would take the million and hand it out.
Walk away.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, that's what if I had.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How do you choose that person?
I don't. I've got a staff that does that.
Ah, okay.
And and it's going to be different cities every year, maybe around Christmas time.
Yeah, when do I apply?
You're wealthier than God.
Oh, yeah, right.
But anyways, I've always thought, ever since that program used to be, well, it started out on the radio, but I think that would make me the happiest, that I've got all this money and I'm helping people be happy. Yeah. Period.
The line about I'm healthier with God. The old joke was, you take your money, you throw it up in the air. What's God's, He keeps. The rest comes down to you.
I like your philosophy, bald-headed guy. We'll talk to you later.
All right, Errol.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
And let's talk to Maria in Saginaw. Maria, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I was listening to Mr. Schutte and you talk, and I'm sure what was said is that if America had to pay up, they'd go bankrupt. But because there is so much real estate owned by
that's
the
what
U.S.,
I had said that.
So that would be an asset.
Exactly.
Would that also make it collateral in the eyes of a lender? Do you think?
Well, in the case of the U.S., the lender is you and me when we buy bonds, or whoever else